Everyone, have a seat. Thank you. This is your last chance to take a decent photo of me.
Last chance.
This could be it. Well, it depends. We'll see what happens. The last regular session chance.
Come on up.
Okay, I'm going to get us started, and honestly, for a couple of reasons. One, I got very sage advice, which I asked for at the beginning of the session. We should be more bipartisan. We should talk to each other more. We should share a laugh as long as it's not mean, and in good nature, good spirit, fun, and a meal. Because the issues that we have to tackle are never easy. Even in the debates for memorials, none of it is easy. And it's sometimes, I think, fodder for governors and presidents to poke at their policymakers and legislators, but rarely do you hear them say, so let me do it. They work hard. They have been up all night, and they're delivering for the people of New Mexico in a bipartisan fashion, and I am grateful to them. And that sage advice was, maybe you don't have to talk at a press conference for an hour. You already did that at the beginning. It's good advice, and I'll let you figure out who that might be at some other point. The point is this. I'm going to take it because we're all have other things that we're going to be doing. But I wanted to do this press conference for the obvious reasons. One, we want to talk to you about what we accomplished. We want to talk to you about, and they may be different, where we think we have some challenges that we still need to address. But lastly, I want it to be a celebration. We kid about how the last session for any governor and any body of legislators is zero fun. That there's just a lot of tension, there's no appetite for big new initiatives, and this session was not like that at all, and it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the way in which these legislators keep delivering for New Mexico. And I want to be in a position in front of every New Mexican to tell them, thank you. Because it's never easy. I'm not easy because I care as much as you do. And that's what drives all of us. And so for me, it's an incredible celebration. Now I'm going to back up 1 second and then I'm going to be done. There are things that I know you'll ask me about that I didn't get over the finish line. And there are things that each of them, as leaders in their own right, didn't get over the finish line. And you might ask them about that as well. But the point of this is to tell you that we're going to keep working on all those issues. And I know they will for as long as they're in the legislature and beyond. And I am grateful to each of you. I am also particularly grateful to the Lieutenant Governor. If you heard his recognition on the Senate floor, it is really hard to provide an avenue to adequately identify the strength and ability and the recognition that the Lieutenant Governor deserves in this team environment when it's about the governor. And make no mistake, there is no way we have universal child care, universal pre-K, #1 in the country, that we have a moonshot investment and with more coming and more to do in K through 12, and free college with New Mexico State University on their own announcing that they're going to subsidize some graduate degree work, right? This is incredible. This is exactly the ecosystem that we wanted to deliver in 8 years. And by God, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you, because I can't do it without this legislature, I can't. We did just that. We are the only state in America to deliver that promise to families. We're the only state in America that focused in on affordability more than the things we've already done. Medicaid, SNAP, utility support, all of it. We did the rest of it, creating a foundation for economic success and quality family well-being for generations to come. And I end with this. This is not the state of generational poverty and risk. We have some things we still have to do, but this is in fact a place where the rest of the country sees opportunity, and the only work we have yet to do really is to get New Mexicans to embrace that this is the place of opportunity. So with that, I'm going to hand it right over to the Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Governor. I first want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to have worked with you over the last 8 years. And it's been an amazing time, and your leadership has really set the tone. And leadership is the tone that's set at the top. And right from the beginning, where many would think that it's the last year of our administration, that we would maybe take a victory lap or sit back on the accomplishments that we've done, the tone that you said is we got more work to do. And I think that it really shows, because at the completion of this legislative session, New Mexicans are going to be better off in many ways. So thank you for your leadership, and for the legislature and the House and the Senate for you working together and making sure that we could get priorities across, that we can stay in constant communication. I think that was absolutely essential. You know, I at times we question, like, what do we do and how do we do it? My hat's off to our Senate leadership, because when Senator Ward shared that we were going to come in and we were going to work the entire week, including that Friday, which typically in my time in almost 20 years has never been done, I was concerned. I said, well, the fatigue's going to set in, and it's going to hit us right towards the end. And it did. The fatigue set in. But that setting that tone from the beginning, that we were going to work through, really allowed us the opportunity to get early victories and really set the tone to finish off strong in the way that we did. So I'm grateful to be part of this team, grateful to be here on our 8th general session. And hopefully that as you guys hear more discussion of the priority bills that have gotten through, what a wonderful celebration this is for New Mexicans.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I'm going to go to Leader Worth. Did you bring a checklist?
I thought about the checklist. I also remember pulling a mask off at one of these, COVID. It's really been an honor, Governor, to be here 8 years with you. And I'll say this about our session. It was hard charging, very productive 30-day session. We came, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, right out of the gate with a $1.5 billion road bonding package, 2 medical compacts, and a bill to close ICE detention facilities, and we did it in the first 2 weeks. Set the tone, and lots of work thereafter. No question, healthcare was top of the list, and we delivered on multiple levels. I want to highlight 2 things that I think are a little under the radar that you all should really know as part of what was done to help doctors and medical professionals. One is a $10,000 income tax credit for doctors, the highest in the country. Also, our healthcare loan professional repayment program goes from $75,000 over 3 years to $300,000 over 4 years. Again, we came together in a bipartisan fashion to get that done. The money is in the budget for a new medical school, and again, taken together, I think we really responded to constituents throughout New Mexico that were crying out for action on healthcare. The universal child care, a signature accomplishment of this administration. To get that done with appropriate guardrails, I think, is part of the legacy that you will leave with. Of course, it's a 30-day session, and that means budget. And I think we once again used one-time money in our trust funds to keep recurring spending below 3%, and yet we accomplished what we needed to do. Finally, I just want to flag the constitutional amendment going to the voters to pay legislators. I really believe that is something that's long overdue. We have a lot of discussion about that. So thank you, Governor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for an outstanding 8 years of service to our state. All New Mexicans owe you both a huge debt of gratitude.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Leader. Oh, I thought that was clapping. I'm so excited. Madam Pro Tem.
Thank you, Governor. So I'm going to focus on education. The results we've achieved for students and families this session are just incredible. And I just have to shout out to the governor. She's really the first governor that has paid attention to student performance and achievement at the K-12 level. So she and I have been on this path for the last 8 years. I actually don't want her to leave now because there's more work to do. So the literacy reforms that we've championed in the chamber 2 years ago with the Literacy Institute, our structured literacy agenda, a summer tutoring program that served 17,000 students. And guess what's happening? Our reading scores are going up significantly, especially among our Yasi Martinez students. It's just stunning to finally see those performance levels go up. So we built on that progress this session. We funded the permanent establishment of an Office of Special Education. There are so many parents who are grateful for that, and teachers and students, and it's all been because of this governor did an executive order. We tried for years to pass this bill, and she got sick of us and did an executive order, and that has worked so well. We already have that office ready to go. You know, we've also increased health insurance premiums for teachers, finally, for all educators. That will make a huge difference. I know you've heard from Senator Munoz about how much more money you get with health insurance reform than with a small COLA. Nevertheless, we did both, thanks to the House that in the end worked with us, and we also did that 1%. So it's just a lot to be grateful for. I am very grateful for the governor for going down this road with me. We actually went to Kansas. We went to Pittsburgh, Kansas, go Gorillas, and saw their 25-year-old basic classroom for kids with dyslexia, and learned from them, and that convinced the governor, I'm sure. We didn't ride out together, but we spent a lot of time together there with her granddaughter. So just very grateful for the governor and the lieutenant governor for this kind of help.
The only problem with that trip is I drove there because the state doesn't have a jet. And Kansas wouldn't come pick me up. So there you are, teasing. Pittsburgh's hard to get to. It's a little tiny town. But we did specific observation in 5 different state programs to make sure that just more than on paper, we could demonstrate real changes in opportunity for young readers of all ages using structured literacy as the baseline. And my own granddaughter benefited from that program and is still benefiting from structured literacy today. So thank you. Honor serving with you too. Mr. Speaker.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Governor. We've served together 8 years, but only, the last 4 of my speakership, and you, after winning re-election. This has got to be one of the most consequential sessions we've had, and it's a 30-day session, which is ironic. In fact, I had a member as we were leaving our press conference, I had a member come up and tell me, he's one of the folks who's retiring, and said, I've never felt more inspired than I do today. And if you know him, he's generally a pretty grumpy guy. So the fact that he said that, I think is a good testament to the work that we did together. Big props to our leadership team, to Leader Sapansky, Whip Hoffman Vigil, Chair Lara, all of our committee chairs, Chris Chandler, who just took on a monumental task and got it across the finish line, to the senators, to our Senate leadership team. Leader Worth and I feel like we talk every day of every session, good, bad, or ugly, but we're always in communication, and that's key. I'm very proud of the work that we did together. For us on the House side, affordability was a big topic for us. Affordability really, I think, goes to the core of where voters and constituents and New Mexicans across the state are. That's why we continue to make historic investments in housing, and thank you, Governor, for your help in through Secretary Nair's vision to implement these fast-tracked investments in housing. In Albuquerque and Bernalillo County alone, over the last few months, we've moved close to 1,000 unhoused individuals into supportive housing. This is last year's investment. This year we're going to do something similar, but we're taking it statewide. And we're also investing in not just transitional housing, but also to help people be able to afford to buy their first house. In fact, the Senate passed House Bill 200 with about 2 minutes to spare, and the money's 15. In the budget. 15, all right. We're improving.
Who's counting?
Healthcare, we continue to work on subsidizing the Affordable Care Act, and that's work that Leader Sapansky has been leading for many years. with the Healthcare Affordability Fund, and this is a vision that the governor and Leader Stepanski and former Representative Armstrong had many years ago.
2019.
And now we are reaping the benefits of having done that. Pay raises for state workers. This was an area that, for us, it was really important to ensure that the people who make New Mexico run, the truck drivers, the custodians, that they got their pay raise. And we were able to do that on the House side, and grateful to the leadership of the Senate as that bill moved across yesterday. You all were really able to navigate some complications from the other caucus and get that across the finish line. And a couple more things that I'd like to mention. Universal childcare. This governor, if I were to describe your governorship, it's early childhood. And you really got us across the finish line, from the constitutional amendment for early childhood all those years ago to the Office of Early Childhood that Senator Padilla helped establish, to the trust fund that was established in I think it was 2020, with the leadership of Chair Gallegos and the late Senator Smith. Back then, people would have laughed at us when we talked about universal childcare. And yet here we are. And we did it in the right ways by putting working people first, and by ensuring that those educators are paid what they're worth through the career wage ladder. So Governor, thank you for supporting that effort as we were navigating that bill across the finish line. Last but not least, in our press conference, we had a lot of our organizations behind us, nonprofit organizations and advocates and whatnot, and among them were the immigrant rights organizations. And I asked them, how many bills were you working on this year to protect immigrant communities in New Mexico? And they said 4. And I said, how many did we get across the finish line? 4. That's what happens when you elect people who look like their communities. To echo Senator Nava, because I've been using her phrase a lot today, representation matters. When you elect women, when you elect people of color, when you elect immigrants, when you elect parents with young children. I think that's how Joint Resolution 5 got across the finish line, because we have a bunch of parents who are pulling double, triple, quadruple duty to be able to feed their families, keep a roof over their head, and also serve their community in the legislature. So, monumental session. Very proud of the work that was done by the House, by the Senate, with your leadership, Governor, with Lieutenant Governors as well. And hopefully no special session. But the day is young. Thank you.
Here we go. I mean, they really don't want to keep doing that. They'll do a lot in a 30-day session to avoid it, and me too. We should be doing it in regular order, and that's great. And I'm sure someone's going to ask me about that, and none of us know what the next 10 months hold. We had a special session to protect families from federal budget cuts, and this is a group, I don't have to twist their arms, any of them, to do special sessions that protect and lift up New Mexicans. So we'll have to wait and see what the next 10 months hold, but the work that we needed to get done in large part happened here. Leadership Hansky.
Thank you, Governor. Huge session for healthcare and also for housing. And so I would just want to call out some of those accomplishments, but I think so much of this stems from the great teamwork that we saw within our caucus, across the aisle. There was a lot of bipartisan support for a number of these initiatives. The governor, having a governor who truly understands healthcare inside and out, has been an incredible asset for 8 years. The Healthcare Affordability Fund, I'm so proud of that. It's 6 years that we've been working on that. To finally get the full funding into the Healthcare Affordability Fund from the source. And it's been the subject of negotiation for many years. I can remember some very late nights fighting over the percentages, and to see that get over the finish line with funding for affordability programs and for behavioral health infrastructure in the end is really exciting. And that is the key to keeping healthcare affordable, even as we're seeing premiums rise and the federal government failing to live up to the objectives of making those commercial health insurance plans more affordable. So that's a huge accomplishment, doubling the size of the medical school. In addition to that, we have funding for residencies and preceptorships in the budget, which is going to help some of those students coming out of UNM medical school stay in New Mexico and do their residencies right here. An incredible effort to fund Medicaid and SNAP, even in the face of all the federal pressure with uncertainty around implementing those programs. I think we have done our absolute best to make sure that families will have access to healthcare and food no matter what happens at the federal level. And as the governor mentioned, I think we're all willing to show up and make sure that that continues to happen this year. On the subject of housing, we did do, we have $130 million in funding for housing shortages, homelessness, supportive housing, just a whole range of programs. The New Homes for New Mexicans, that is 0 interest loans to help working families buy their first home, and incentivize home builders to build starter homes for New Mexicans. That is going to make a huge impact. And the House put an enormous amount of work in on the compacts, and really excited that we've got a couple of those on the books, and we will continue to push for those and do the work across, with our colleagues in the Senate, getting those into a place where everyone feels really comfortable, just so that we can make it easier for healthcare professionals who are licensed in other states to come to our beautiful state and serve our patients. So just a tremendous set of wins, and really feeling like we had put together such a great team among all of the folks you see here and within our caucus as well. Just really incredible to get to this point. Thank you.
And to wrap it up with, we don't get anything across the finish line unless the folks who are whipping and counting and are giving us a sense about what will move something. I mean, it is sometimes it doesn't appear to that to the public. I don't mean any disrespect by that, but it's a well choreographed effort, and one person out of step, one instrument that is not finely tuned, and we don't get what we need. So I want to ask Whip Padilla, who also got a shout out from the House, and I want to add that. None of this really, the cradle to career investments in the state that are the envy of the rest of the country had a whole lot of shared visions in this room, and a whole lot of efforts that span 16 years and even longer than that. But a lot of those big giant steps so that we could build it happened because we have leaders like you, and I appreciate very much your efforts. And Whip Padilla, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Governor, and I hope Whip Hockman-Beal will agree with me, but I think we both got our steps in every day, step close, so we zoom around that floor. But thank you, Governor, and I want to thank my legislative colleagues and Lieutenant Governor. We had a phenomenal session. I'll just focus on affordability, and more affordability. I think about half the bills were related to affordability for New Mexicans. I'll focus on 2 things. You started hearing about housing. Governor, when you appointed the Housing Investment Council, we did a lot of work on your direction, and we found that we had a 42,000 dwelling unit hole in New Mexico, or shortage here in New Mexico of housing, and that is just completely unacceptable. So you heard a lot of the wonderful things that the House did. On the Senate side, we focused and brought a gross receipts tax exemption for affordable housing. So in a lot of ways, that by itself is going to help major multifamily housing projects get across the line, and where they might have stalled. And so that's going to be important for New Mexicans. We did put a 3-year sunset on that to measure it, just to make sure that it's doing what we wanted it to do. But these are projects that span the entire state, from Hobbs to Albuquerque to Las Cruces, Taos, you name it. These projects are going to do really, really well, and you're going to see them moving a lot faster, Governor and everyone. And then the second piece of affordability, in 2024, the federal program on affordability for high-speed broadband and internet was completely brought to a halt. Complete surprise to all the states, but we rolled up our sleeves, Governor, and the leadership that you're seeing here today. And this year we have created an internet affordability program that's going to reach about 127,000 households, and the affordability will be something less than $30 a month for families, so that they can have their families can have access to high-speed broadband. And we know that that brings economic development and job creation to New Mexicans. Some communities have never had a healthcare professional ever, in their communities. This is gonna bring telehealth and telemedicine to those communities. And then, of course, distance learning. If you need to attend UNM online, or you get into, you know, the University of France, or wherever you get in, and whatever, you're gonna be able to attend that school anywhere in New Mexico. So those two items on housing and internet affordability were huge steps forward this year. So thank you, Governor, and thank you to this group up here for helping to bring that across the line.
Thank you, Whip. And last but never least, Whip Hockman V. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Governor. So first of all, I think I'm the only legislator here who came in with you. So fast and furious is all I've ever known. We started with the education moonshot, and we finished with what I think is the most transformational session I've certainly ever been a part of, if you know, ever in modern history. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the medical malpractice solution that we came to. I want to start by saying, no matter where you are on this issue, the thing that was most inspiring for me was the process that we all engaged in. This was a true bipartisan effort. We moved throughout both chambers. We had help from advocates. We had folks from the governor's office. We were moving through a solution that we thought worked for everybody to the best of our ability, and that was something that would give doctors the certainty they needed to know that they were supported in New Mexico and they can stay in New Mexico, while also allowing those that have been victims of medical malpractice access to the justice that they need to be made whole. And it was an incredible solution. There were so many of us that worked on it. Shout out to Chair Christine Chandler, who I've never seen a legislator work that hard to come up with a solution. And it was really inspiring to see the bipartisanship that we had on that bill. I truly believe that it's through bipartisanship that we're going to heal this country, and that effort was really inspiring to be a part of that. So I'm going to talk a little bit also about public safety initiatives that we got through. So we had a great budget that was very robust in public safety measures. We had crime reduction grants, the Organized Crime Commission. We also funded evidence-based diversion programs to prevent at-risk youth from becoming criminally justice involved. We enhanced our justice system by helping district attorneys continue their important work, and of course we created 2 new judgeships, one in the 2nd Judicial District Court and one in the 1st Judicial District Court here. I also want to talk about Senate Bill 3, which was a big initiative of the governor's, harm to self and harm to others. And that essentially made it easier for those that are suffering with serious mental illness to get access to the help and the resources they need via the courts or otherwise. So we're really excited about that work. And then, of course, we had additional help to recruit and retain police officers and firefighters and correctional officers and public defenders and all the folks that come together to create that system. And then last but not least, certainly, is keeping firearms out of the reach of dangerous felons, which is something that we've been working on to cross the finish line for quite some time. So, like I said, transformational session. I don't know what it's going to be like not being, a part of just every year some new transformational trailblazing initiative that is going to transform the state. New Mexico truly is on the forefront of incredible work being done by your legislators, and I'm just so proud to be a part of this leadership team and to have met this governor and have gotten the chance to be a part of all the work. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to do 2 quick things. I'm going to go to questions. I'm sticking with it. One, I want to give a MVP shout out to Holly Agajanian, who is the general counsel for the executive. True to form, the end of the legislative session, nobody likes Dan Schlegel or Diego Adencon, me either, but they do an incredible job, and they also make sure that we're in constant communication. It's a lot harder than I think we make it, all of us appear.
Can we clap for them?
Yes. And then all of us have family that sacrifice a ton. My brother has been on this crazy journey with me since 2008. And every session, if it's you guys go too late, we like to call him up and play a practical joke. It's hideous. So he's relieved that this is it. And we're not going to do something to him. most gullible human on the planet. I'm so lucky to have that in my family. I love you, Gregory. And then my husband, who just wants me to finish up. And so, Manny, thank you for hanging in there all this time. He's got 2 new goats, so he's got plenty to do. And with that, you heard about malpractice. You heard that we did a 2.6% overall budget increase, but we invested billions in roads and infrastructure, housing, and new medical school. The work that we've been doing to put money away, to put it in places where we can invest in development and serious $500 million in new economic development at the Economic Development Department, getting the approval by the legislature to keep working on the state fair. There's no wrong door to these plans. Multiple opportunities, and the stakeholders are the people of New Mexico. Get to weigh in. It's a beautiful, incredible process. Where I'd like to see more, and I really appreciated the House's work on a lot of the public safety. You know, the system is, and it's hard for everyone. I need these guys to get it on the ground, to start those race cars and start the race. Make sure that we don't have any wrecks as we finish the Indy 500 is the work of the Senate on a lot of that crime work. I think there's a lot more public safety that we have to do. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get juvenile justice. Prevention's always good. That should happen every session. So thank you. But we also got to do that accountability. When 7 days a week, now more than every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, I have a juvenile involved in violent, serious crimes somewhere in the state of New Mexico, and there is no place that is exempt from this travesty. We're gonna have to keep working on that. I know they will. And I do think Med-Mal is a huge achievement. It was bumpy, a lot of tension. That balance is not so easy. So I want to do it to make sure that it's respectful to both sides, both chambers. You cannot abandon a patient who is suffering from gross malpractice and or neglect, right? There has to be a vehicle to make them whole. We also live in a corporate, for-profit healthcare world, and the notion that we can fix that by ourselves in a 30-day session, for me, is flat wrong. And I don't think, honestly, thank you for that healthcare shout out, we're not gonna fix that by ourselves. What we can do is moderate risk, invest in improvements, lean in. We need 5,000 doctors. Do as many compacts as we can reasonably get done, because they do make a difference, and do all the rest, the loan forgiveness, the investment in residents, the things that get people to say. And what doctors said, even though we're going to exit if we don't figure it out, they ultimately want to be here. They were asking us to create a climate where they can successfully practice. So limited liability caps on independent practices, limited caps on hospitals, creating an ecosystem gives this legislature, in the next 60-day session and beyond, the ability to keep doing the work, so that why wouldn't New Mexico be the most affordable place to get comprehensive healthcare benefits and insurance, and the best quality outcomes in healthcare? It should be the same in everything that we do. I have no doubt that conversation will not wane. And for the 10 months that we have, expect us to be there with you, because it's going to take an executive branch that's ready to support you all in a 60-day session to do the rest of the work. So I know you've got individual questions. We're ready to answer them. I just wanted to say thank you for the best 8 years ever, and thanks to the Mexicans. We believe I'm going to be less partisan. I'm not going to be very bipartisan. These democratic values make a difference in the quality of life of New Mexicans. We put their protection, their dignity, their civil rights at our agenda on the forefront every single session and beyond. And if every state would do that, I believe that Americans would be less angry, less disenfranchised, and we would all be safer in an environment because it was built on that respect and dignity. Let New Mexico be the blueprint for democracy for everything, not just some things.
Hey, Governor, you
Yep.
know how shy we whips are?
Yep.
Let's see.
Here we go.
Sorry to interrupt.
All right, we're ready for you.
Since I inadvertently skipped you last time, let's start with damage to content. Next one.
I have two questions. You mentioned that there's a lot more work left to do in public safety, so what's the path forward? The second question is, are there any kind of big ticket items in either the budget or the tax package that might not make the cut when they get to your desk?
Now, let's do the last one first. Let me read it, would you? I appreciate that not only, again, taking care of medical practitioners and looking for ways to bring in revenue. That's what most governors, either party, would look for. Certainly I do. Can we execute it? Is it constitutional? Is it going to stall economic development, or is it going to increase economic development? There's some good economic development drivers in the tax package. I appreciate that last minute we're looking for a vehicle for workers, kind of an odd vehicle to do that. I got to think about that without being in a situation where you hurt anyone. The goal is to get to yes. I know they know that and they appreciate that. But the tax package in general has a lot more good than things that give us giant concern. But we got to read it, look at it, and think about it. So no way to tell you where we'll end up. But the other thing is thank you for keeping our line item veto authority. So if there's a small adjustment, you can do that. In some states you can't, and then the whole thing goes away. And I've had to veto a tax package or two, and that is not what governors want to do. You want good tax policy for your citizens. My goal is to get to yes, so is theirs. So that's how I started. I think there is a pathway. Look, I want everything right away. Senate, for the things that are their priority, they want it all right away. House, we let perfection still kind of get in the way. My advice is don't do that. I think they're doing incredible. So I'll talk to you about some disappointments. We need to finish, violent crime accountability. And while the House has repeatedly passed, thank you, felon in possession, we have to figure out a way to make the case. I'm never going to stop believing in pretrial detention, and I'm going to pick on Leader Worth. He's going to keep defending that the system we have is the system that you want over the long haul. And we're going to keep intellectually debating that issue. Maybe there's a hybrid we have yet to think about. You don't get to a hybrid unless you keep introducing those bills and you talk about it interim and during the session. I was disappointed in the gun dealers and the assault weapons ban. Frankly, I would have loved it, and I tried to decouple it, you're welcome, right yesterday, and just do the assault weapons ban, because if you get fewer of those in the hands of kids, in the hands of other dangerous criminals, we're doing half that work. But look, when you have someone who's buying 50 guns, I'm making this example up, a week, every week, they aren't keeping them. And when most of the arrests show us that that purchase was legal for that firearm, we have a problem in the state. So I was disappointed that that didn't get over the finish line. And really, we've got to do more, in my view, in juvenile justice. I think the legislators fairly are worried that, again, they want those parallels, prevention and accountability, to be very clearly married. You see states that are overwhelmingly too aggressive on trying juveniles as adults without really doing the right work. We shouldn't, for murder, we should be doing more there. For felons in possession, look, you're in jail in New Mexico, in prison, less than 2 years on average. These folks get right out. We just had a guy in I-25 SWAT situation. Why are they out? I don't even want to argue with anyone anymore about the deterrence. If you're in jail 5 to 7 more years, guess what? You're not getting a gun in the hand of a kid, and you're not shooting at a New Mexican or engaging in violent crime. It seems simple to me. But I didn't make the case. At the end of the day, that's part of my responsibility. So if the next governor agrees, they'll lean into that responsibility. But I don't think they're done debating public safety. But look, danger to self is huge. Competency in the special session, thank you legislators, was huge. Aggravated battery, looking at any number. We got a lot of bills up this session. I lost a lot of bills. but we introduced probably 30 public safety bills, and nearly a third are upstairs, maybe even a little more. I have to kind of look at those last few minutes, you devils, and see exactly what happened. But that tells you that it is not all or nothing. Daniel, what it says is we're doing the work to figure out the best vehicles. And frankly, the amount of money, it's 175 million for both homelessness and housing. This also attenuates risk and will give the legislature some time to think about how much more is needed in which buckets. So I think it's less about winning and more about recognizing they've been debating public safety, and I thank you for that, every single session since 2019, and we've passed something meaningful in every single session since 2019. But I would have liked a little more. Last thing, I think we could have done more on environmental protections. Between the Land of Enchantment Fund, we got some more funding, 25 million to make sure that we're doing conservation investments. Those are critical. Those do a lot. I'd love to encourage you in the next session to do more on regenerative farming and healthy soils and more carbon capture. We do have a tax package that leans in to providing tax credits for more businesses that lean into carbon reductions as they come here. That will make a big difference. I wanted the microgrid system. I want net zero in statute. There's a lot of daylight in marrying some of those. There's going to have to be a lot more work, but let's thank the Senate and the pro tem for their courage. Those were hard, tough battles, and I have no doubt they'll have them again. And in the next legislative session, in a productive way. I didn't mean battle. I meant effort at making sure that we're answering questions. I get it. You know, I didn't win. I wanted malpractice, Leader Worth and I, in a different way 3 years ago. It takes longer. We wanted literacy in 2019. So it shouldn't take so long as a whirlwind governor, but it does. And that's not a complaint. It's just that I think they're going to keep working on it. I'm grateful for that. That's leadership. And I know that there are strong-willed people in this room that aren't going to stop fighting for the things that they believe in. And interestingly enough, on both sides of those issues, I believe in them too.
Judy Goldberg with Source New Mexico.
Thank you, Michael. Governor, the AG this morning reopened a criminal investigation in Zorro Ranch. The House approved the investigative subcommittee that'll run through the rest of the year. I'm curious how closely you'll be tracking their progress and what questions you might have for that subcommittee.
You know, it's a good question and an interesting one. I mean, it took courage to not take what has been over-politicized by some and under-evaluated for real work to protect victims and hold people accountable by so many others. This is a legislature that is not afraid to take on tricky issues where we need a lot more DOJ work here, not less. But the fact that we have a property here with pretty severe allegations that can tell a story about what happened to who and who did it. It's another environment where we aren't shy about accountability in a multitude of ways. And I will tell you something else I believe about New Mexico, given we've had some, you know, sort of beloved personalities spend time behind bars because they made serious mistakes. We don't care who you are here. If you did something and you're associated in these Epstein cases and you perpetrated a crime and there are still victims, there are potentially deaths and bodies, we will find it. And you've got a collective here. You have the executive branch with the power of the state police. You have the Department of Justice and an attorney general that's, I think, very aggressive in this spot. You have legislators that are going to hold everybody accountable. That's the purpose of their commission, not to be forensic investigators. But are the pieces matching up? And is everybody doing their job? And if the FBI and the DOJ won't do it, we'll do it. And we will be transparent. I think it bodes well that the current owner is going to cooperate. We'll see what that really means. But good for this legislative body. They could have just said it's a federal issue. They'll get here. They'll deal with that. They didn't wait. And so I'm proud of them for that work. I think you should expect that you'll get to ask a lot of hard questions, and I think you should expect them to move aggressively forward. And they'll get full cooperation and support and resources to the degree that we have them from our office.
And Governor, we've got the chairwoman
Yeah, right
of the
here.
commission.
Andrea
right here.
Romero, come on up.
Do you want me to say something?
Oh, yeah.
We're, folks are celebrating that we got this done, but really it feels like we're just getting started. I take the importance as chairperson of this subcommittee very, very seriously. We've already been working on the logistics of getting everything started up and firing away with what it is that we have charged. This is a big, sprawling story that spans multiple jurisdictions, continents. And you know what happened here in New Mexico is I've been speaking to folks across the globe right now that if a crime happened here and a perpetrator was in our state to commit a crime, they will be held to account and we will be looking for them. So more to come on that front and as we get organized and starting up, but we take this very seriously. Thank you, Governor, for your support, and we will absolutely be reporting to you and things that we learn, and to the public for the things that we learn in the course of this work.
Great. This will be a statewide team effort, and thank you for your leadership, and thanks for the support of the legislature to recognize we all have an obligation to find the truth.
Good, Dan Boyd, the Health Care General.
Governor, I wanted to ask you, you've had your ups and downs with the legislature over the last 8 years, and including with your own party. What advice do you plan to give your successor, whoever that might be, about dealing with the legislature?
I gave some of that advice out last night and today. Be aggressive. Be clear about what it is that you expect and want. Hold these relationships dear. I get angry, I do, I'm human. And, you know, I called a lot of people on the House yesterday about, I don't know, if you were to IPRA their phones 5,000 times about the literacy bill. And they could get angry about that because guess what? They're working, all right? Be clear about what you want and why. But these relationships matter. I mean, I did that video, and everyone knows I've got a weird sense of humor, and I'm the weirdest, shortest governor in America. There's no, you are who you are. So be genuine. I am who I am. But I meant that. There's this notion that somehow, you know, no governors like each other. You know, unless you're of the same party. It's just not true. It doesn't mean that we agree. But that's not true. And there's this notion that legislators don't like each other. That's also not true. And it's not true that Republicans aren't up in my office, and vice versa. These relationships matter. I wanted these governors to say to the legislature, talk to each other, have a cup of coffee, have a little fun. Fun shouldn't be, again, mean-spirited. It should be joyful. These are tense moments. So my advice to a governor is, remember to have fun. Take a breath if you're going to be as assertive as I think you need to be. And remember how valuable and important these relationships are. I can't do anything without the legislature. Nothing. That's the way it's supposed to be. And they have delivered for New Mexicans with, and sometimes they're smarter than we are about the better way to do it. What's wrong with that? Listen to them. Doesn't mean that we don't debate, but we meet every week. We try to navigate where we are. And I think at the end of the day, even though there's always some really tough disappointments, and again, this one, I like these guys. It's weird. But I do, and I'm gonna miss working with them. And I hope they feel the same way. And that's how you should leave the job. Wishing you could have done more, disappointed about the stuff that you didn't get over the finish line, earnest about what that is, but celebratory about the incredible changes that together you delivered, because none of us can do it without the other group. And there's more to do.
Go to Jessica Barone with KRQE, and then we'll go to Griffin Rush and KRB.
Hi, this is for the Senate. You know, there were 8 other medical compacts that ended up on your side and got stuck there. Was that just running out of time, and or would you support those next session if they just kind of came by, or even more than 8 if there's more?
So we will absolutely support those medical compacts and work towards them. I think at the end of the day, there's 3 or 4 now that are actually being implemented. And I think we put together a process with the medical compact that did get signed this session, where there was a lot of work done in the interim, work also with the commission itself, because we can make changes and then they don't accept it, and that doesn't work. And it's a fine balance. I think we've got a model to do it. It's an important piece of this. There is no question about that. So there's definitely a commitment to keep working on those.
And shout out to the House who just leaned in. If someone's got to lean in, someone's got to figure out what's the best set of priorities. I'm greedy. I like it all upstairs. I like a chance to fix it while I'm building it, but that's not always the best scenario. But both, I think you'll see a bunch more of those in the next session and beyond. Again, I won't be here. I'll be over there, and I'll ask some of these questions. It's gonna be great. I could dress as Daniel Chacon. We're the same size.
I was gonna ask to borrow some of your shoes so your communications director can see me.
Done! I like it. Touche.
So looking ahead to the future, this year again, there were several measures introduced about changing up this legislative session system to 30-60. We know voters will be deciding about lawmakers' salaries. So I'm curious, after 8 years, do you think the system needs to be changed, and how would you want to see it changed?
Oh, I didn't want you to ask that question. I'm really nostalgic. So take that and have viewers take that with a grain of salt. I know what happens, particularly as a former member of Congress, that when you formalize a paid structure, it becomes very formal and formalized, and it's not as easy to navigate for constituents. And I think even with the best intentions, it changes. And people lose a little bit of those relationships directly with their citizen legislature and develop relationships with their very professional staff, which will have to grow because it's a lot more work, it's a lot more time. By the same token, it is a bit disrespectful to hang on to that nostalgia and say, we just want to hold on to it without really thinking about a modernized, they are professionals, professionalized environment for legislators. And you just asked us if we ran out of time. We always run out of time. I mean, it's a lot. Voters are going to have to weigh these issues. Legislators are going to have to find ways to stay close to your constituents. And probably if I don't say it, they will say it. We do, in my view, which is why we have a Governmental Conduct Act, why we have any number of tools, there are real conflicts of interest that in some ways can't be helped in this system. You can completely eradicate those. They're gone if we do this. So I don't know what voters will do. I don't know that you'll feel less exhausted with 45 or 90 or year round. I can't tell you. I mean, Congress has not gotten any more successful at getting anything passed year round. And governors with year round or longer sessions will tell you the same thing. It doesn't dramatically sort of change the output. I think it does change the ability to not be sort of frenetic while we're trying to get it all sort of into a system. You know, between drafted and fixed and amended, we don't have a solid infrastructure, and we do have real conflicts that honestly can't be helped. So I think that's where we're headed for the right reasons. I think if I was a voter, I would likely, as I was going right in there, talk myself into it. But I will miss that this is a very unique system that, in spite of itself, has served New Mexicans incredibly well. And we'll have to see what happens. Anybody want to add to that? No.
Take a couple more, we're at an hour plus now. Morgan, please.
Real quickly, the
Associate
oil
President.
money that has poured in over the past 7+ years, would universal childcare have been possible without that? And was it almost too late? Could you just explain a little bit for our audience?
Well, I mean, oil and gas revenues are an easy place, given that it is 43% of the budget. When I started, it was over 53% of the budget. So we are successfully diversifying and creating an economy of the future. And if you look inside all of the budget and tax and economic work, we leaned in hard into quantum and fusion in a number of places, because relying on anything, particularly a volatile economic place for revenues, is not the smartest place for any state. But this is a state that puts its money into savings accounts and trust funds with ways to replenish them. So early childhood, certainly without that and without that attitude, would be harder. But there are states that are already looking for what their economic engines are to replicate it in the same way. You should have a trust fund. You should have a revenue stream. You should start with general fund. You should bring a department together. You should leverage the services that you have. You should invest in the wages. So 18 plus floor, but that's not the ceiling. With real professional development, every dollar you bring in is 11 you can bring back. It means people in the workforce. It's really a workforce engine while paying real respect to the affordability crisis that families have. I think you're going to see more states look for ways to do it. We were smart about taking a resource, and it was legislators. I don't think it was a governor who said, here's a good idea, don't give me any money to spend, put it in some permanent funds, and let's see what happens. But that strategy now pays off everywhere. It's how we're doing opportunity scholarships with long-term vision. You name a state that for their universal child care laid a foundation for 5 years. I mean, they have to reappropriate, but they can tell you where that money is coming from. So for every international naysayer, $700 million for 5 years in a trust fund, while it's replenishing itself, while the economy is building, while we're investing in other clean energy and other technologies, is how you make it sustainable. And that's the workforce of the future. I'm going tomorrow, I leave tonight to DC, because counties and cities want to know exactly how we did it, and they want to start looking at their economic opportunities to do the very same thing. So it's doable. Oil and gas was the place where we started, but it will not be the place that we end, because we're socking away money in a number of places, in a number of ways. And I heard the debate, I think it was the Senate, about how our pensions are underwater. No, they're not. And you know why they're not? Because we put money there first. Stable, smart investments, sustainability, and yes, thank you to energy, extractables. We can't do renewable energy without mining. I mean, there are some hard truths. This is a state that can make the benefit of those hard truths. And then, look, you know, I wasn't all that supportive, honestly, of the child care poquito in the pre-K pinch. I was worried that it might derail voters' confidence that it was enough. I was worried that it might make Congress bristle a bit, that it was too much too soon. Not that I said I wanted universal child care, because Howie said he wanted universal child care in 2018. I was there. But I wasn't sure about it. Speaker did that. You know, the other thing I would tell the governor, you remember where credit should be placed. It's less about you and it's more about the people around you. 16 years. That was smart. Enshrined in the Constitution gives us the opportunity and the requirement that we keep building it. It was smart. I didn't have the same courage in that moment. I was about, let's get pre-K and then build out. Smart. I'm going to give all of these pearls of wisdom in the Senate, who waited until the money, the reserves, oil and gas revenues, with other investments and other economic designs, and a trust fund first. It's the combination and the wisdom from both chambers that built universal child care, so that I get to say, I'm the first governor of the first state in the nation to truly deliver for children and families. That's a beautiful place to end this great press conference, I'll tell you that. Champagne downstairs in Peter Worth's office. Thanks, everyone. Oh, you guys are awesome. Are you going to miss me? We're going to have more press conferences. I'm going to do something mean to the Lieutenant Governor.